And so part of this mission, so we're gonna let Luke go through everything. And what Victoria just sent me a text.
I'm sending it to her right now.
Yeah, send it to her right now.
Hey, Julie.
Hello. Sorry for being late.
Jimmy, I'm also recording this as well, if anyone would like a link to it afterwards.
Yeah, start recording once everyone's on, okay?
Sure.
Okay, cool.
Okay,
Hey,
sorry.
Victoria, can you hear us?
I can, sorry. I was looking for Zoom. I didn't realize it was on another platform.
Okay, so I'll start off the conversation. This is a new concept, and Luke will go through it. And I chose agents that are in different markets. So I chose Victoria, she's North Shore. I did Matt Steiger because he's Western Burbs or Northwest Burbs. I did the Wortmans because they are a primary and secondary market in Southwest Michigan. And then Barry and Elena are in the city. So that's their primary focus. So as we beta test this situation, and Luke will go more into like the whole situation, I wanted to test like agents in different markets to see how it works and take it from here, Luke.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for joining us today, everybody. This is interactive. Everybody has full control of their mics. So stop me anytime, ask me any questions, please. I'm also recording this, so I will share a link afterwards if you'd like to review anything, but it won't be that long or complicated. So the idea is to give you a quick overview on DDK marketing, who we are, and then jump right into the program, what it does for you and what you can expect and how we can support you. So the whole idea behind this is to help you find active prospects, and the emphasis is on active. And we'll kind of explain what we mean by that. So DDK Marketing, we've been in business for over 10 years. We are a boutique marketing firm out of Chicago. We're right downtown on the Loop. And we work with some pretty big household names, even though we're a fairly small company. And we're really focused on identifying and connecting prospective customers with our clients. And our clients include Two Men in a Truck, Pandora Jewelry, Dell Computer, Shutterfly. So we've got some pretty large companies that we, again, work with, focus specifically on intention-based prospects. So what are intention-based prospects or active prospects? So actually, the first thing I'm going to do is kind of tell you where they are. So what they are people that are demonstrating some level of interest in your product or service, in your case, in your brand, through their actions, through their demonstrated actions, and we can pick up those actions. So where do we pick those up? The first one is keyword search. So a particular person is online. We've got a set of pre-selected keywords for at property specifically that they could type in, and we can identify those keystrokes. The second is website visits. So it can be basically any website. We've identified a set of competing websites, so we can pick up when someone goes to a competing website and has visited more than one page on that site. So that's the qualification for that. And then the third one is a location visit. So that can be any physical location, and I'll show you an example of that with Ford Motor Company, but it can be any physical location. So we have the ability to identify every MLS home listed in the US, and we can break that down to territory. We could break it down to the geographic parameters of that actual home structure, so we're not getting people that are walking by. So it can be extremely accurate. So this is where we're finding people. In all of these cases, if they're demonstrating any kind of action, they're creating a digital signal, we can pick up that digital signal. So how does this all work? So as I mentioned before, just a minute ago, we can pick up that activity through their digital signal, through keyword, through website, through competitor sites, through sometimes complementary websites. And then the engine that we have through OnSite translates that information into that specific person. So we do a lot of different data points to qualify and make sure that we are extremely accurate, typically around 98% accuracy that we've identified that particular person. So what have we identified? We identify their name, their home address, their email address in many cases, and then their device and their router ID. Again, it's very accurate. We also filter out things automatically. So any non-US resident, any minors, any junk traffic or bots, and any employees or agents or representatives. And we can also, not part of this pilot, but we can also add in a credit worthiness. So we can set a threshold for different areas of credit worthiness or a threshold across the entire country to filter out further. Once that's done, then the campaign is automatically initiated. And I'll mention this to you multiple times today, that there's nothing that you need to do. All of these steps take place automatically and are preset and rules driven. And we'll tell you a little bit about those. So immediately, those individuals can start receiving digital ads personalized from you. They'll start receiving direct mail piece from you. And we can also stream ads into their household through any of the popular streaming services. What's different about this is we are targeting that individual person, not what we think is someone who's interested or an area or a group of people, but the actual person that created that action and showed that intent. So far, so good?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So
Well, something I want to like express to like the Wortmans and like everyone on here that we're doing this beta test with is we're targeting our competitors' websites. You don't need to know who the websites are, but that's where if someone goes on to XXX website, that's where they're retargeting those people.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I have a question. So you had said you are able to filter out by age, bots, and then agent or representation. I mean, how do you know? It just seems like that would be challenging. There's so many agents around. How do you know that? You know, because I've even had agents on my website sort of filling stuff out, and then it comes to me, and then I realize who they are, right? Like, how do they know there are other agents?
Yeah, that's a great question. It is not 100%. It's a little mix of art and science. So it depends on where we are finding individuals. So if an agent goes to your website, if we don't have that particular person listed, then we're not going to be able to find them. But if they're at an open house, we can identify that person. We can match them back to their agent number, and or we can also timestamp. So if someone is at an open house for more than an hour, they're most likely the agent and or the resident. But of course, the resident we can match back to the home address.
So to like reiterate what you're saying, so you're purchasing all this data. And so if an agent's like so part of the data that you guys are purchasing and targeting people, if they're like on LinkedIn and registered as being Victoria Logley with app properties. So if they're like a part of that, that's kind of a filtration that you guys would have where we would not target that person. Correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks.
Good question. Okay, so let's talk about Ford dealerships. So how we make sure we're not getting Ford employees is not by a whole list of employees across all the Ford dealerships, but how the duration of the individuals that are there. So anybody that's there for more than 2 hours is considered, an employee of the business. But we have over 16,000 Ford dealerships physically framed, and then each of those dealerships also have 2 competing dealerships near them that are also identified and framed. So we have, over 40,000 locations. So this program is extremely scalable. But for the example of Ford, and I'll give you the example of app properties and what we're specifically doing. But for Ford, this is the rule that's set up. So it has to be an adult. Obviously, they have to be in the U.S. Resident, and they have to visit the Ford dealership. And within 5 days, they have to be at one or more competing dealerships to be considered in market. So if they pass all of that criteria, then what happens is we translate that digital signal into that individual person, and then we execute the campaign. And each dealership has their own set of campaigns. So of course the branding is all managed by Ford, but each dealership can pick what they want to do. So the majority of them send out digital ads to those individuals. So those ads show up on whatever app they happen to be on, right? It doesn't ping their phone kind of big brotherish. Instead, it's a banner ad, like when you go to weather.com and you see that ad on the side. So anything, any of the 16,000 or so apps that we link with is where they'll show up. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. And also they can trigger a direct mail. So that direct mail piece is from that dealership. It could, in your case, it's going to have your image on that piece as well. So it'll be personalized from you to that individual person. And then in the future, you also have the opportunity for OTT. So I say future because I'll show you in a moment. That's not set up for right now for you, but in the case of Ford, they do use OTT. So we can identify, yes, that direct mail piece went to Victoria and it was delivered on this particular day. And yes, 15 digital ads were served to Matt across these X period of days. And these were the top domains that Matt viewed them on. So we can also see where people are looking at the ads. And then also OTT was sent into, into Jimmy's house, and he happened to catch it on HGTV last night. So we can get that incremental in what we're watching.
It would actually be Bravo. It would not be HD.
Okay, we'll find out. All right, so for App Property, so what is a campaign, the pilot that we put together? So I'll tell you a little bit more detail in a moment, but it's essentially we're going to identify 50 contacts per week. We're going to gather those names every Monday, which means on Tuesday we start serving the ads and we generate the direct mail for that individual. This is completely hands-off. The only participation that you will have is you will get an email list each week of those contacts that were delivered. So we'll talk a little bit about privacy, but you are able to communicate with those people via email and or use that as a match back as well. So how are we setting this up for you, or how did we set it up? We've got 14 competing websites. So Redfin, Remax, Century 21. So that we are paying attention to. So of those each week, what we're doing is monitoring those sites. We're going to identify the zip code territories that you want covered, and anybody that goes to
So,
any of these
Luke,
sites.
I'm gonna step in.
Please.
And so for a majority of these people, like Century 21 doesn't make sense, that type of stuff. We're monitoring Compass, Coldwell Banker.
Yes, and those are both on the list too. So if there's a priority of those that you want, you can let me know also, Jamie. So, yeah, I just grabbed this as a quick example.
Too.
I'm sorry?
Jameson too?
I think Jameson's on there too. I'll double check.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, you listed out 14.
No, so I have Jameson, and then I have Jameson, Sotheby's, and I have Sotheby's on there as well.
Yes.
Oh,
that's
okay,
right.
cool. I was thinking just this handful. Got it.
And then the second piece is, so that's where we're first going to go. And we suspect that we're going to get well more than 50 people that are going on those sites. But if not, then the next piece down is then we will grab the next set of people from keyword searches. So we've got 80 keywords that we have identified using those 14 sites and yours to identify what are the strongest keywords that we want to grab for people that are searching again in your area.
So team, can I interject, Luke?
Please.
Okay, so everyone has Luke's email, right?
Yes. From the invitation.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we need to get creative, and so for keywords, so the Wortmans, Matt, Barry and Elena, Victoria, Tim, like if you guys can do me a favor or do us a favor, and so within your market, because it's all these different markets, what do you think a keyword a consumer is going to search within your market? And so if you can send Luke 5 keywords that you think would be applicable, and we already came up with, Luke and I had a conversation, but I don't live in Park Ridge. I don't live in Glenview. I don't live, in St. Joe. So if you can send him 5 keywords that's important to you, in your market, that would be amazing.
So 5 keywords separate from any agents or competing real estate agencies. Is that right?
No, you can
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
give
So
me,
what,
yeah. So a couple of things on that. Excuse me for interrupting. First, when I send you the link to this recording, I'll also send you, if you're interested, I'll send you the keyword. Well, I'll attach them. If you're interested, you can open it. I'll send you the actual keywords that we have. The keywords that we comprised are derived not subjectively, but from a lot of research, a strong research tool called SEMrush. So we're able to identify the keywords that you have, the top keywords that you have in common with those 14 competitors, the top keywords that are unique to you, the top keywords that are called missing, and the top keywords that are considered weak. Now, each of those end up to be a list of hundreds of words, but there is also logic built into this. So what I mean by that is, if you say, I'd like to find best realtor near me, but I also want best realtor in Glenview, the Glenview is not necessary to put in, because we will grab anybody that types in best realtor, and if they match the zip code area that you're in, then we have them. So because of scale, because of the thousands of property location individual agents we hope to eventually be working with, it's not necessary to put in a specific city name.
I got a question kind of going towards what Victoria was asking though. Will we have keywords specific to other realtors that we compete against, or is it just going to be the brokerages?
If you mean, do you want to have a broker name?
We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Okay.
Yeah,
You're not doing a
so
specific broker name, just brokerages.
Yeah.
So brokerages, we're not using a specific broker name.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
But again, that can be added to the competitor websites. So the brokers' websites, we can build on that list, if that makes sense. But between someone visiting one of these 14 sites and someone typing in a version of these 80 keywords plus whatever you want to give us, we're going to get more than enough leads. Does that make sense? And this is an interactive program. So once we start, we really want to not bother you, but work with you and get your feedback, because we want to know what are the quality of leads, because we'll be able to identify at least where these leads are coming from that we're reaching. So, if we're getting 80% of them, well, I'll show you that in a moment, but we'll work with you on this. So if we need to make some adjustments along the way, it's not like we're locked in and we can't make any adjustments. We want
question for you, Luke.
Mhm.
I know the answer, but I want Barry and everyone to understand is they can individually change their keywords, right?
We have a maximum of about 200 keywords, so there's not really a need to individually modify them.
So no, for what I'm asking is Barry's account, because she's downtown Lincoln Park. And so some keywords might be more relevant. The Wortmans are in St. Joe, so some of those keywords might be more relevant, that type of situation.
Yeah.
Within each one of their account platform within DDK, can they say this has performed better? I like this better.
Because of the scale of the number of people, to a certain extent, yes. During this pilot, for sure. So yes. But again, some of those are going to be, if I get two different ones, one that says home real estate in Glenview and home real estate in downtown Chicago, that won't help you to differentiate between those two, because we'll identify those people. But in the case of the pilot, the only time it wouldn't is if someone's not in your territory zip code and they are coming in and looking in that area. And we'll kind of monitor that and see if we're getting a lot of that activity or not. So again, once this gets moving, then we'll be able to get some feedback and say, you know what, Victoria, let's look at some more specifics in your area. But I have a feeling that we're going to be getting so many from competing websites that the keyword is going to be, not inconsequential, but it's going to be a smaller factor moving forward. But we'll see. We'll be able to track that.
Thank you.
So I don't mean to be vague either, but you know, the good and bad news of this is there's a lot of flexibility in this. So we start with a really good baseline, we see how it works, and then we can grow from there. So what happens is once we gather all that, again, we're going to grab 50 for each of you each week, the best 50. We're going to translate those. Actually, we're going to grab quite a bit more because we focus so much on accuracy that we're going to need to get more than that to make sure that we end up with 50, that we have almost 100% assurance that we've actually identified that person. Once we do that, then what's going to happen? Well, starting on Tuesdays, each Tuesday, they are going to get 2 digital ads a day for 12 days. Now, again, I want to emphasize this isn't going to, aggravate somebody because they just keep seeing app properties ads come up endlessly. They will not come up unless they go to a particular URL. And again, there's over 16,000 of them. So they are going to see your ad, but it isn't invasive. It's not in their face. It's noticeable. It's on the side. Again, weather.com is a really easy one to go to because there's always the ads on the right-hand side. So they will see your ad, but they won't see it, twice a day for 12 days if they don't go, if they're not, depends on how active they are, but they will see it multiple times. And then that ad is a 15-second video ad that App Properties is building. And again, that will have a link to your page on it, to your URL. That'll also be reinforced with a postcard with your name and your office location on it as well. So that will come within, if we're collecting the data on Monday, it'll be there by end of that week. So they're looking online 1 week, they will start getting ads and direct mail within, depending on where in that week they are, within a couple of days. And then the next piece that's really important is because of privacy, it's up to that individual person on this first touch to reach back to you directly. So I want to emphasize, we're not building your CRM. We're not going to give you a list of here's everybody's name, address, phone number, et cetera, because we do have to comply. All of us, both brands, have to comply with the Privacy Acts, and we're very much in compliance with that, and as you will be. So we'll talk about that in a moment. So I talked about also how we're tracking things. So you will get, if you're interested, you will have a visual of how many website visitors and how many keyword strokes were identified of those 50 each week. So again, we're going to be taking a look at that and seeing where that is weighting and what decisions need to be made around that. Also, on the response side, to a certain level, we will be able to track what's going on based on, again, who's responding to mail, who's responding to digital ads, and both on the website and on the keywords. So sometimes this gets a little geeky for people that are busy like you, but for us, we're taking a look at this on the back end again, so we can constantly adjust and fine tune and get smarter on how we're targeting.
And so just to let you know, everyone on this strand is super geeky in a good way, and they'll pay attention to this. So that's why.
Right, so I'm curious sorry.
Go.
I'm curious, how are you tracking with the direct mail? Is there a QR code, or how is that happening with the direct mail?
The direct mail,
it's a little harder to.
We're going to have to rely on you for self-reporting. So we'll be able to identify which pieces are going out, and we'll provide you again with the email address, and we can provide first initial, last name. So if you can let us know, who's responding and who isn't, that's how we're tracking the direct mail. In other cases, we're tracking by QR code, or we're tracking by sales data. But in your case, we're going to have to rely on that feedback from you.
Well, because I have issues where, people will reach out to me and I'll say, how did you find me? And they'll say, online. And then I ask, well, how? They're like, well, we saw you on Google, then we saw you on Zillow, then we saw your website, then we saw you on, whatever. And they basically go and they don't really understand or remember exactly where they found me from.
Sure.
So maybe they'll see the postcard, and then they're going to go online, and then they're going to start Googling and looking everything up. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the best way to do it, other than if you guys throw a QR code in the direct mail piece too, and then they click on the QR code versus having to go and Google, that then will tell you, right, whether the direct mail is working versus just relying on that individual to tell us, because oftentimes they have no idea. I'm just throwing
Sure.
that out there because I've
Yeah.
always had people reach out to me online and they just say online and they have no clue. So, yeah, just some things to think about.
Good point. So there's a couple of things. So there's always collateral, right? There's always the argument of, well, yeah, they answered the email, but they also drive by the billboard every day, right? And they probably Googled us too. So yes, there's a factor of that that we take a look at. QR codes are great if people use them. So we do a lot of QR codes. So if that is something that you want to have added, we can, certainly.
I think it's a
Jim?
great idea for direct mail. It'll be a lot more trackable personally.
Yeah,
People are really into
1000%.
QR codes now.
1000%. And then Luke, tell like the whole entire team, what kind of data do they get from the consumer? Like, as far as, do they get their home address? Do they get their email address? Or like, what kind of data do they get that they can use?
What you get is the first initial, last name, and their email address. So that, from a privacy law, that is as much as we can provide you. What
If they
we're
have multiple
providing,
email addresses, do we get more than one email address? Because I know I have 3 email addresses.
Once we get going, we'll find out. It depends on, email addresses, as you know, right? There's so many that are not that great out there. So traditionally, we give the primary email address only.
Okay.
The other thing is that we are tracking those digital ads, of course. So we're tracking where they're watching them, what domains, and also what is the completion rate. So we'll be able to track back if someone watched 25% of it, 50% of it, 75 or 100%. So we'll be able to give that feedback to your video team to say, this one's working, this one isn't, or this one's getting watched all the way through, or it doesn't matter because people are still responding, so we can shorten up the ads. So there's a lot of feedback on the digital side that we can get. But the direct mail side, yes, if QR codes are something that you feel people are responding to, then we definitely want to do that. Okay, so I promise I'm not going to read you all this or make you read it, but we do. It's important to note that we are 100% compliant with all privacy laws and all self-regulated laws around privacy. So the California Privacy Act, the PII, the Personal Identification Act, and something called the DAA. So anything that we're doing on your behalf, and that's why we execute on your behalf because of the privacy laws, and that's why we're restricted also on what we hand back to you. Okay, so what are the next steps? What happens with this pilot? Well, it's pretty simple, really. The first thing is you just have to say yes, you're interested. The second thing is that we will start building out this for you. So starting on the week before March 14th, whatever that week is, the week of March 7th, I guess, it's easy enough. We will start collecting data. Yes?
Hey, Luke, question for everyone. Everyone take it off unmute. Who's in for this pilot program?
Everyone what?
Me.
And
Yes, and
Matt's
Barry's
in.
in.
Yep.
Great.
Barry's in. Tim, are you in?
I'm super in, yes, and I love it.
Yeah, so we can just fire Tim. He's not in. So everyone's in. All right. All right.
Okay, great. That's good to know. So we're in. Good. That makes us happy. So the start date is the 14th. So we're going to start collecting on the 7th. What do you need to do? Nothing. This runs until the 30th of May approximately. So at the end of this, you're going to have 600 qualified contacts, 50 per week. The agent information, so your information is going to be preset for you in these campaigns. We're getting from Jimmy and team the postcard, the digital ad, your profile image, your URL that we're going to use, and your zip codes that are going to be covered and assigned to your area. Creative ads are all taken care of. Now there's something that we have that's called a portal. It may be ready right at the 14th or it may be the 21st, but on that portal, a couple of things are going to happen. So it's mobile or online accessible to you. You'll have your own personalized sign-in. You also have, Turi is on the phone with us. You also have direct contact to Turi anytime you have questions, direct to his line, and he's in DDK in Chicago, so you can actually go and see him if you need to. But he will be here to support you on the portal as well. The portal is.
Can you guys define what like Turi's role is and what your role is within this whole platform?
Yes, my role is to take all the credit and look good. And Turi's role is to actually do all the work in the trenches. No, I'm a business development, so I'm responsible for really kind of the overall of this program, anything that has to do with all the way down to, the bits and bytes and the nuts and bolts, and all the way up to the launches and the training and the rollouts. Turi is your contact day to day that knows what's going on internally with the production team, with the portal, with your specific account. Any day to day questions would be through Turi. And as we grow, then Turi would grow his team of support as well. So the portal is where you are going to be able to check in each week and say, are my 50 going out, and are those 50 coming from the website, or are they coming from keywords, etc.? And that's also where you'll be able to download your email list as well. If for whatever reason the portal is not ready that first week, then we will get the email list emailed directly to you. But that is where you'll be able to go on and see. In the future, that portal could have multiple creatives. It could have multiple options such as OTT that you can go on and sign up for. So there's a lot available on that portal. So what happens after the pilot and you love this and it's been a success? But then the program is basically up to you. You pay as you go. So there's no long-term commitment. You can opt in and opt out based on a preset package of leads. So you could buy 50 leads, you could buy 100. We'll get that defined for you, but it's basically, again, your choice to continue and when you want to, or if your inventory is full and you don't need anything at that particular time frame, then you can opt out. And then once you're ready to go, you can start up again. And all of that can be managed through a call to Turi and his team or through the portal. Then the last piece again is, I want to emphasize, we're not going to use any of your time on this except for some feedback occasionally. This program is set and designed to run for you, so you do nothing. Those 16,000 Ford dealers, they do nothing each day. They just know that they're getting X number of leads going out each day based on who's on their lot and who's on others.
So, hey, question for you. So if you do nothing, nothing happens. So we got to figure out like this kind of coaching element, like on my end is like, hey, Victoria, this is your script for this lead, that type of situation. Because if
Yeah, there has to be some kind of follow-up, right? And we're allowed to use these emails for follow-up.
So some kind of follow-up dialogue that Turi can like coach them, where it can just be like, hey, you got this lead and I can help you, Luke, write the copy. I'm really good at that.
Great.
And then the agent knows to follow up. Is that cool?
Happy to do that. Yes.
Okay, cool.
Okay, questions?
Hey, Luke, or anybody who wants to answer, what?
So Tim, I'm going to interrupt you, which you're going to love. So I want everyone that's on this platform and this conversation to ask one question about what it is or what Luke just talked about. Let's start with the Wortmans because they're first on my screen.
Have you run this type of program with any other real estate companies, either anywhere in the U.S.? And if so, what kind of results have you had?
You cut out a little bit, but I think you asked if we've run this program for other realtors. Is that correct?
Correct.
We have not. You were the first ones that we've approached, and that's accountable to Jimmy and Tim. Again, we've done this with and are doing this with Dell Computer, with Ford, with some really major companies. But we felt that there was a fit for the real estate market as well. So we essentially approached and said, we think this is going to work for you. What are your thoughts? And and should we approach this? Does it make sense? So that's kind of how this conversation started. And you were the ones we're working with. It's not in our interest to dilute the market. Now, do we have an exclusive with that properties? No, of course not at this moment, but this is our focus.
Potentially, but yeah, we'll talk about that later. That's gonna be tough.
Yeah, there is a
That's
potential for that.
that's actually Thad Wong's job. I'll have him have that conversation. But anyway, go on.
Yeah, good question.
All right, so second on my screen is Matt Steiger. And so Matt, what's your question or questions?
Sure. I was just going to go back to the keywords. I think I know the answer, but so we can change and adjust those keywords in our portal anytime?
No, not in the, no.
No.
You can provide those, you can send those to us, to Turi.
Okay.
But no, you cannot go into the portal and adjust those. Sorry if I
Got
gave
it.
you
Oh,
that
no, that's
impression.
fine. So, okay, but Turi can change them if we want to adjust some of them.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so something for Matt, and Luke knows this, like keywords, you can't change those every day. Like for Google and like everything to update, it takes a minute. It takes like 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks. And so that's why you guys have a 90-day. And so we'll reevaluate and jump on another call, all of us, and see what worked and didn't work as far as keywords go. But you want to change it every 30 days at a minimum. Am I right, Luke? Prove me wrong.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's good. I was going to, since you guys did say that you geek out, I'm going to hold on 1 second. Did my screen go away for a second?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, let me pull up one thing for you. Just, I think this will be helpful. My computer's going to cooperate with me here. You're going to like this, I think. You should never have said that everybody's on this call is a geek.
No, everyone's the best in the business and smartest smart.
That's
like I'm
right.
not going to have someone that's going to ask questions to nowhere. Like we all go to conferences and meetings, and you have that one person. That's not going to happen with us.
Okay, so if you can you see my spreadsheet here on my table? I know it's a little bit small.
Yes.
But this,
Yeah. So Barry, you can see the words that I kind of chose a little bit. You'll like that.
Mhm.
So what I wanted to show you is this column B over here called competitor, or called type, excuse me. So what we've done is categorize your keywords. So not only do you have this list of keywords, but they're also categorized. Remember I said there's certain keywords that are missing from your search engine currently? These are some of them where you're either missing or way down on the Google search engine. These are the ones that are shared with these competitors. So the reason I wanted to show you this, these are the ones that are untapped and these are the ones that are weak. The reason I wanted to show you this is we will be watching where people are coming from that we're identifying. So if we're seeing a lot coming from the shared section or the missing section, then we'll be able to, and then you say, I want to add some additional keywords, we can take a look at those and see if they're categorically, if it makes sense or not. So again, we've got 3 data scientists on board. We'll work really closely with you to not only take the words that you want to use, but also give you some feedback on those particular words based on the history that we're tracking.
Cool. So the next on the list, Tim, any questions?
Well, I think it's I don't know, maybe this is a group question, but how will you guys or how will we define whether or not this is successful? By the sale of one house, by a bunch of phone calls that we get? How, like, does anyone have a feel for that?
That's
So
part
for
of my
me-
question. What's the ROI?
Yeah, so what we're going to talk is in 30 days, after this has been running for 30 days, you might not have someone that wants to close until 30 months. And so we'll like reconvene and we'll talk to Julie in a minute because I want her to talk about like the ads and stuff that we're working on for you to make this as seamless as possible. But we'll like this whole conversation right now is informatory. And what we'll have within 30 days, we'll all jump on and Barry can say, oh my God, I got this lead from Schaumburg. And, these people are calling me from Schaumburg or whatever, not hating on Schaumburg, or let's just say Carthage, Missouri, where I lived, but that type of situation, which you guys get with Zillow. And so it's going to be, so as we call this like a test and a beta test within them, DDK is going to learn from us in the real estate industry as we're going to learn from the technology that they've already established. And we can, it's kind of symbiotic. So it's going to not be easy, but obviously we're all paying for this because we're all invested in it. And yeah.
Cool. I mean, so again, it's free for 90 days, right? So anything that happens in 90 days is 100% profit, I guess. But eventually it'll.
But Tim, nothing's free. It's complimentary on all of our ends.
Thank you. All right, so I'm done asking questions. Thank you, Jimmy.
Yeah.
You got it. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Barry, go.
I have a few questions. Number one, the ad set, are we able to see what that looks like, or can we customize it, or how does that work?
So the ad set, we'll have Julie answer that in a second, but you can do some customization. We're just trying to make it as easy as possible, and we're just
Yeah.
trying to figure out like the messaging for everyone. And
Okay.
so say what Julie will talk to that in a minute, if that makes sense.
Okay. I'm more
Okay,
so,
next
I'm
question.
fine with like the design aspect of it. I just want to make sure like the phone number, email, photo that is used on there is like the correct ones before it goes out.
Yep.
So I
Second-
won't bore you with this right now, Barry, but I wanted to show you that eventually once you get online, this is what the portal looks like, and you will have the ability to, if ultimately there are multiple creatives that you can pick from, but even if there's one, you'll have the ability to click on that and it will auto-populate your information into it. So you will be able to see online before anything's executed that it was set up correctly.
Okay, cool. Second, you mentioned that you would pull from certain zip codes. Are we able to tell you what zip codes, or how many zip codes can we include?
Yes, you can provide us with a list of however many zip codes you want to cover. And ideally, they would be in priority order. So we'll, if you say, I want to pull from these 5 first, just provide those to us in order.
Okay, got it. Is there like an effective amount of zip codes you would recommend? Like how many is too many?
That's a good question. We work with, so the short answer is no. I'll give you a couple of examples. So 2 Men in a Truck, who's up right now, they are zip code locked based on their franchise. So they dictate, corporate dictates to each location their zip code areas. Dell, we cover the entire country. With Pandora, it's based on reporting history of their stores and the distance around those stores and where people are buying from. So it's location by location. So in your case, it's, we may have a set of defaults that pop into it, but you have the ability. Let me see if I have a screen here for you. You have the ability. We'll set up the portal. So right down here, if you can see my little typing, you will be able to add in your own zip codes and change those at will.
Because being in the city, just every zip code is a much smaller area than in the suburbs. So usually I tend to have more. And then my last question.
So Barry, before I lose my train of thought, I'm like Dory from Finding Nemo. So before my train of thought, like for you, you're the only city broker. And so it could be a super saturation, so do you were like, Larrabee and like River North, Lincoln Park, that type of situation. But then if we go over to like the Wortmans, they're in St. Joe, but they have a zip code in the Inland Lakes, like that type of situation. So what Barry's asking, Luke, is they can send like their top 10 zip codes and then they'll have it by preference, right?
Correct.
Okay, cool.
Or Barry could send 20 and the Wortmans could send me 5. It doesn't matter. It's up to each individual location.
Okay. The last question I have is, once you do get all these leads, is there some sort of follow-up guideline or template you guys have put together, since you've done it in other markets for other companies that are successful?
The advent of being able to provide email addresses is very new.
Okay.
In fact, it just started. So up till we started working with you, so all the brands that I mentioned, they have not been given email addresses. So their follow-up has been 100% reliant on that recipient contacting back to the brand.
Okay, got it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for your questions.
Jimmy, you're muted.
So it's reciprocal now. So you get these people's at the very least initial and email address, and then you can dive into that. Just pay for $5 for a different platform. Like, who is this person? Email address, and try to figure out who they are. So we can talk about that later. And then Barry, I can talk about it with probably Barry, Victoria, is talk about a script for the whole entire team, that the 5 people that are here, is what's that phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4 once you get a lead, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and stating the obvious about the script, and I just have to say it for my own comfort, not to talk down to anybody here by any means, but you certainly don't want to call out how that person was found, right? Because it does get a little big brotherish. So, it's a great coincidence that I was Googling, for homes for sale in Lisle, and also I happen to be on the Keller Williams website, and then I get ads from App Properties. I mean, that's pretty cool. But if App Properties reaches out to me and says, "Hey, we noticed you were looking online," that's going to really alienate. So, of all the follow-ups that everybody, that we are doing, or the lead gen that we're doing, there's never a call out. In fact, Dell has elected to not even personalize the piece, and they're still having huge success with this program. So they're direct mailing to someone that goes on for an XPS computer, but they're not even putting their name on the piece, which, is a big no-no for us in the direct mail world, but they don't even want to reveal that level of detail. So how you follow up with people is really important.
So Luke, I agree with you. Like, I walked into a Volvo and Audi dealership, and then Audi targeted me. I didn't buy an Audi, and I still get their stuff. Totally get it. And it's almost like a school directory where it says, "I'll murder you and your kids if you use it." And so it's a soft sell. So
Yes.
we get these people in the market. We get these people, like, we get their contact info and their email. Are they going to add them immediately to their CRM? Possibly not. But can they add them to their AdWorks campaign? Can they figure out, because it's within their market, can they add them to their, supplemental outside of DDK direct mail campaign? So instead of like calling and being, I'm an ambulance chaser.
Right.
All right, Victoria, shoot.
Okay, so I had 2 questions, and one was already sort of touched upon, but I assume this is to target a good blend of buyers and sellers. Is that right? We're not necessarily just targeting one or the other?
Yes, good question. The keywords were deliberately a balance of both.
Okay, that's one. And then the second one is ROI, which I know we're not, expending anything at this point, but from your dealerships and those other, you said it's been very successful. How do you measure success for those other campaigns? Not us yet, because we know we're new and we're a pilot. How has success been measured?
Okay, so for the ones I can talk about, for Dell, they're matching back that sale to that individual person's name directly.
Oh, okay.
And
so what has been the success for them, for example?
They said that they cannot share metrics with us, but we've done it now for 5 quarters. And their quote, because I asked them, could I actually quote this? And they said yes. Their quote is, "This program is kicking ass over any other XPS campaign that they're doing or have done in the past 18 months. So I don't think they'll let me put that on a commercial, but that was their direct quote.
Thank you. Okay, gotcha.
With Ford, they're tracking back to sale, right? So again, they can't definitively say we sold this car because Victoria was on the lot, Sunday afternoon, because there's so much other collateral marketing, right, that they're attributed to. But they are seeing trending, and they are seeing increases when they're doing it versus when they're not. So it's a little more holistic on their side versus Dell being able to track an actual
Got it.
barcode to a product.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks.
Okay, so a question for you, Luke. Are you there?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Can you open up a sample campaign that we created for the team through our Dropbox? Do you have access to that or no?
Sure. I can share the screen with you if you'd like to pull it up. What would be easier?
Either way, if you want to pull it up.
Sure. You just want to tell me where to go?
Yeah, it's that Dropbox we sent to you, but if not, I can do a share screen.
Oh yeah, let me share it with you instead. That would be easier right now than jump out of the 8 things I have going here. Hold on a moment. Should be coming to you.
Yeah. 1 second. All right.
There we go.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Let's look at. So does this share sound or no?
Yes. Should be able to. Your ad?
Yeah, 1 second. Right. Everyone can see my screen, yes?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so here's a sample for sound. Let's see if I can turn sound on. It's all the way on. So here's a sample. We're going to tailor it for your market. I want to keep the messaging kind of the same, but here's what we did for the Workmans.
So just a
You there,
comment.
team?
Just a comment
What?
on that real quick.
Yeah.
So we've done a lot of research on digital ads and tracking them, and most digital ads are either 15 seconds or 30 seconds. We've seen a much higher response on 15 seconds versus 30. So that's why this ad was part of the reason this ad is the length it is. It's been proven that the completion rate and response rate is much higher on a short one.
Cool.
And personally, I think you're waiting for people to watch the entire ad to get to the Wortmans. You should have their like a banner at the bottom that's stagnant throughout the whole thing. Because what if we lose them and they don't make it through the whole 15 seconds and you miss the whole thing that it's Wortmans and it's just at properties. You know what I mean? If we're really trying to push ourselves and get, you know, the consumer to know who we are, you need to have that all along the bottom of the ad, not just at the end. Personally, because I don't think it's
Okay, we can adjust it. Well, you just email.
That's my opinion.
No. Adjust it with us so we can adjust it. Barry, what do you think? Because you're kind of like Victoria. You
Yeah,
there?
yeah, sorry, I forgot where the mic button was. I don't see why not. It makes sense. Why not have it at the beginning?
Okay, yeah. So I'll have Julie put like your logo in
The
the
entire,
beginning.
but during the entire, no, Jimmy, along the bottom the entire time, not just the beginning and end. Because it is so fast. You know, they need to be able to see our names at the bottom, the whole.
Like a
length
ticker
of the
tape
video.
banner running across the bottom.
Yes, thank you. Ticker, exactly. Ticker tape. Yes.
So Luke, if you can email
Sure.
Julie, and this is your job, and so email Julie and to say the feedback on this. If they can have it at the bottom, their logo,
Sure.
and then their photo at the end. For
Okay.
the contact info with App Properties Christie's.
Glad to do that.
Thank you.
Now, just while we have everybody, let's have an open discussion because you're all part of the pilot program. The way digital ads work is if we ultimately are going to have variable content and multiple creatives, meaning you say, we love this, but we'd like to have 5 different digital ads that we can pick throughout the year. So I want one to run in the fall and one to run in the spring. All of those can be up on the portal and you can select them, but to be able to have them personalized on an individual basis at the end of the page can be automated. to do it streaming throughout may or may not be. So the only reason I put that in there is it may not be instantaneous as you're ordering those in the future, but we'll build that in and we'll work with you on it. But I think it's a great idea. I like it.
Yeah, so everyone on this call is kind of like app properties. Think of app properties like VIP. When they tell me to jump, I say how high and vice versa. So we have our video protection team in-house, and so we can
Great.
tailor it to all of them. Possibly not Barry, because we didn't see her face during this conversation, so she's on my S list. But aside from that, obviously for everyone on here, we can tailor the video content for them.
Right.
Oh, we
Including
see Barry now. Oh, she just got off my list.
Perfect. Got
Great.
it.
But yeah, that's funny. Luke, you understand, but we're coming from, because Dell is Dell, Ford is Ford. App
Yes.
Property is comprised of 3,000 individual independent contractors, and in order for us to garner from this, right, or an individual, we need our names on there because that's the brand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
That's
no, the name is the brand. You're 99%. App Properties is the 1%, and that's why you guys are here, and we're gonna make it work. Cool.
yeah, it definitely
All
can
right.
happen.
So Tim, I'm going to, if you can send everyone, so get the process started, and then I would love to do like a little recap with everyone after the 30 days. And so like a recap like on the 5th, send us all an invite for the 5th of April.
Okay,
So
and I'll make it a Zoom, everybody, I promise.
All right, Zoom next time. Cool.
Yes,
All right,
please.
cheers to everyone. I appreciate your support, Tim,
Thank
and
you.
all of
Thanks,
us.
Tim.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
We'll be in
Thanks.
touch.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thanks, Luke. Thanks, Tim.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Guys, have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye.